Thursday afternoon. It's very cold. Welcome. Welcome to Bealtaine Cottage. Now, it's been a very busy week. In fact, it's been a very busy 5 or 6 days, I'd say, in total. So my kitchen is my laundry room at the moment because I'm drying bedclothes and towels. They're all dry. And I've got some things on top of the stove and some things hanging in front of the stove and the oven door open to let the heat out. So, welcome to Bealtaine Cottage. I was talking with you back in September, October about clearing space. And this is what I've been involved in since Samhain. And now we're coming up very, very close now to Imbolc, which is, traditionally it's on the 1st of February. But it can go a few days either side, and I think according to the moon cycles, I think it's about the 3rd or 4th of February. But anyway, I celebrate on the 1st. And then I continue celebrations if there's a nice moon in the sky in or around that time. Because something that I have worked very hard to get away from is dogma. This is what you do. This is how you do it. So in coming away from dogma of every kind, I have loosened up the space. I have cleared the space. I have allowed the energy just to flow. And so today my kitchen is a laundry room. So I've made myself a second cup of coffee because I've only been back about an hour and a bit, and had a little spot of lunch when I was out on the road, and just taking in the beautiful, beautiful seasonal change now that's happening. It's so tangible out there. I can hear the bird song. I see the buds. There's a lightness in the air. There's a lightness in the evening. There's a stretch in the days. There's all this wonderful energy just flowing and whirling about. It's incredible. And the only way in which you're really going to sense that energy is if you get out there. So I'm going to take my coffee without further ado and come through. I'll just show you briefly some of the wonderful space that's been cleared. So this is the sitting room now from the angle of coming through from the kitchen. Okay. And you can see there's much more floor space. This is what my daughter said the other day. She said, "Oh, Mum, I can see so much more of the floor." So I'm just going to go through to this side now and let you look at it from this angle. And I think you'll agree with me. See that floor? It's just bouncing the light off, which is wonderful. Again, this is about energy. Everything's about energy. And here in the porch as well, much more room. Remember I told you I moved this little pine cabinet through. Now there's a box I've got to take through to my studio. Those are bags of books there that I've lined up for the charity shop. And Jack's bed has been put down there. I've put some nice very, very weak essential oil. I just cleaned the whole thing down with one which is compatible, by the way, with dogs. Not lavender. So, yeah, much more space. And again, if I come out to this point and look round, you can see how this is all working. And again, it's all about bouncing light, letting more light through, letting more air through. And I've got lots more to do. I haven't finished yet. So this is looking good now for the actual celebration of Imbolc, and then further down the line, the celebration of Bealtaine. Just grab my coffee. So, let's go outside now and have a little look. There's Boy out there. He was eager just to get out and have a little run, so I just let him at it. My sticky door. You always know when I'm opening the back door because of that big grinding noise. Oh, I'm greeted by bird song. I still have my little cabinet to paint. You see how busy I've been? I've been sneaking in little bits of work as and when I could. And again, multitasking to get it all done. I've already got some little shrubs here for my beds, because I'm turning the little potager beds into little mini shrubberies. I'm going to have a lot of shrubbery around here, so it's going to be filled with form and filled with colour, and quite low maintenance as well, because I've got lots of plans for this year, and I don't want to be particularly having to continually tidy up. So I've got a bit more paint done on here. I really am hoping to get this finished today, but I just do as much as I can when I can. Now you can hear those birds, and you can hear the flutterings behind me as well. And I filled the bird feeders. I didn't have time to get to the garden centre, where I normally get a ginormous sack of peanuts for the birds for about 48 or 50 euro. So I'll have to go down there. Maybe later on I might be able to get down there between 5 and 6, when it's getting dark. And I have to finish work here in the garden. So I stopped off at a supermarket and I got 2 small containers of peanuts, but I mean they were pretty expensive. They were $4.50 each, and they wouldn't even be 1/10 of what I'd get in a sack. So you can do the maths. Now look down here. You see where the leaves have been kind of scattered out away from the stones? That's the thrush and the blackbird, looking for snails and looking for food generally. And also the bird song is quite different. There's a different sort of musicality. Musicality, there's an American word I think. A different musicality to it. And there's the robin up there. And I have a feeling that the female robins have either returned or are on their way, because those boys are singing out beautiful. So look at all the buds on the ribes, and there's some which I think are going to be opening up in the next few days. Oh, look. There's one that's opened up, almost. There's one of the first flowers. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful shrubs. They grow from a cutting, you just stick it in the earth, a bit like the blackcurrant, in fact a relation of the blackcurrant I think, because they're called, amongst other names, flowering currant. And the bees adore them. Lots and lots of nectar in those flowers for bees that are being enticed out of hibernation by the warmer weather. But of course, talking about the warmer weather, I was having a chat with a person I was taking to the airport this morning, and she said, "Oh, there's snow forecast." I almost stopped the car. I said, "What snow?" And then, of course, I became sensible again. I said, "Oh yes, well that does happen, doesn't it? Because it's usually sometime either just before spring or sometimes in the middle of spring you can get quite a heavy snowfall." There's a crow up there. "Good afternoon, Morrigan." He called back. Called to me. So yes, snow can be very much part of the whole spring scene, and that's always been the case. Because when I think back now to childhood, especially childhood, when I for one, I don't know about you lot, but I for one was constantly feeling the cold because, your socks would get wet, and we didn't have all those wonderful waterproof things that we have now, and it could be quite dreary trudging off to school or trudging home from school. And it was usually after Christmas when we had the snow. And of course, living up in Oma, which is a bit further north than here, and settled into the Sperrin Mountains, which can be a very cold place. It was I remember it being quite grey. That could have had something to do with the fact that we lived in terraced houses with no gardens, and it was very grey. But so you can imagine the joy that I have now just stepping out, being able to step out with my coffee into all of this, which I know wasn't here in the beginning, and I planted it all, but it's not mine. Nothing out here belongs to anyone. Oftentimes as well, when I think about magic, because magic is something that a lot of people are talking about these days, or seeking, or wanting to know more about, or trying to explain the world through. You only have to walk through a woodland and you know exactly what magic is. And it's inexplicable. Poets have tried to define it for centuries, and some have made pretty good jobs of the try, but I still think it's not possible. It's not possible to define it, and that's primarily why I point the camera away from myself and into what it is I'm seeing, in the hope that you can see it and you can hear it and even feel it too. Jack? Come on, let's go for a little walk. He loves it when I say that and head off into the woodland, because he knows all the paths. And the way he runs around and springing, he just springs like he's on a pogo stick. He knows the magic, he senses it. Now those are the little trees that I planted last year. Seven in total. Little birch. They're hardly visible to the eye. You have to strain your eyes to see them. They're so slender and so delicate. But they'll soon rise up, like those beautiful birch up there. Go down through here. These are all horse chestnut leaves. Big and beautiful. And last summer during the storm, you see how the branches cracked there? Now there's a couple of other stems to this tree, but rather than saw the branch and try to neaten it up, I just left it. I left it. And look, I was right to leave it, because look at these buds. See? This is what I do. If a tree starts to bend or break or... See, there's another big stem of it up there, look. I just leave it. Let it find its own way. I know there's lots of gardeners who say, oh, you can't leave a tree that's broken a limb because... Well, because, there's lots of becauses. Perhaps we interfere too much. You know, I just trim and cut what hinders me on my little paths. Now look, this path has become a little bit obscured with branches. See if I can get through. Now you'd laugh if you saw me because I've got glasses on my head which have now fallen off. Hang on. I've got a cup of coffee in one hand, the camera in the other, and I'm doing a limbo dance under a tree branch that's fallen down. Successfully, I might add. Look at this. Look at all the ivy. You see, this is goat willow. Remember what I said about the pioneer trees? So as they just gently fall, they leave space for other trees. Second generation trees. Ones that grow taller and last, have a longer life. That's interesting. Lots and lots of bird poo just down there. Obviously the bird's been sat above here somewhere. And of course, I never get to do all the jobs that I had thought about and had logged into my memory to do over the course of the winter. Because the winter seems to pass so quickly. The days are so short. And there's the boy. He's peeping at me. I'm having a little sniff of that tree. Picks up the scent of deer, as I'm sure there are deer now that come through here. Badgers, foxes. Lots of lichens. There's ferns which have stood all the way through the winter. There's daffodils pushing up over there, up through the dead nettle. This is the dead nettle here. Comes out in beautiful yellow flowers, again, which the bees adore. So all the way through the seasons, there's food for the bees. And there's the spring. You'd think that there wasn't any water coming out from there. But there is only one exit. And that's the little stream bed. And there it flows. There it goes. And you can hear it now. That pool is getting bigger. The water is just carving it out. And here with this little drain, the water is just carving out little falls all of its own. So it's time for me now to get back up to the cottage and get planting done. I have lots and lots of plants in pots and little containers. I've got a few things in the boot of my car as well, which it'll be good to get into the ground now. I'll just take us along here in this little walkway and see what's happening along here, because this leads back to the driveway anyway. Just hear some wood pigeons. So there's little leaves coming out on the Leicester famosa. There's still fungi on this tree stump. It's been overtaken now with ivy. Ferns still that have stayed in place down here. Daffodils pushing up there on the bank. Oh, I know where we will go and have a little look, as I have a feeling that the catkins have opened on this willow. There's a particular willow here in the gardens that I have talked about in the past, and people have asked me what kind of a willow it is, and I honestly can't tell you, because it was grown from a few cuttings that I managed to purloin. Just take you over this little boggy area by the pond. Because if ever there was a sign of spring, it will be this willow. So, just down here. Quite a trek, I know. Huh? Little shrub coming up there. Yes, it has flowered. Here we go. This is it. This beautiful sort of layered willow. Just go underneath it and through to the other side and then look back. There we go, look. Catkins. Aren't they lovely? And they're opening up. Lots and lots up there at the top. Gets the sun first. So I'll come down perhaps tomorrow and pick some of that to put in a vase. This dogwood has gone berserk, I think is the only word that aptly describes it. Because there was a path along there, but the dogwood has now overtaken the path. So this is right down near the road. I go back through the willow. And the flowers on it, the little pussy willows, the little catkins on it, when they open up, they're this beautiful shade of baby pink. And you can see the way the tree grows. Unlike any other willow, it grows out in these beautiful layers that then sort of intertwine. Rather gorgeous. Okay, I'll go back up this way. Now I think this video is going to cut off shortly. Let me just pop my glasses on and have a look. 27, okay. It will stop at 29.50 or something. Now there's a little hazel that I planted I think 2 years ago. And you can see some of the leaves are opening up down there. But of course that's a very, very sheltered spot. Let's walk on here. There he goes. Jack decides to leave his scent just about everywhere, so there must be quite a lot of wildlife coming through the garden, because he'll only do that when he can sense other life on this patch. The water's flowing in quite a gentle way today. Come on, Jack. Come. He's stopped to have a look at the car, look. Now if I walk fast enough I'll be able to capture the hazel up here before I say goodbye. And there's lots of daffodils pushing their way up. I think we might see a flower or two before the end of the month. And this is